So that's a noise I recorded the last time I went out with the guys and we did a little rock crawling. What's up, everyone? Paul with Jeep Beef, and you've probably guessed it. Today we are talking about protection. And no, not the protection your dad told you about when you were in high school. We're talking about protection for your Jeep. In particular, we're talking about protection for the underside of your Jeep. So skid plates and diff covers and rock sliders. Listen, before we get into it, I want to say thank you for being here. I know the guys and myself, we really do appreciate it. If you're listening and you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. If you could leave us a review, we really would appreciate that as well. It really gives us that feedback and lets us know if we're doing a good job or not. And if you're on YouTube, hit the bell so you can be notified of upcoming shows as they are released. So that's it. That's all I got to say. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about that protection. Let's talk about Under Armour. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another show of Light Bars and Loggers. As always, joined by Tim Rogers and Ryan Stoangi. What is going on, guys?
Nothing. I just enjoyed your reading. Maybe later you can read me a bedtime story.
I'm trying to be all pro here, you know? It's not working out. I'd rather just do, like you said, just wing it. It's way more natural, you know? Yeah, so today we are talking about body armor. I imagine we'll talk about a couple other things as well. But so tell me, what's going on? Tim, what's up?
Looking forward to another episode. It's been kind of cool. I've had some friends and family tell me they're listening in. Hopefully we're getting them to listen in more than once. And yeah, the feedback on the show has been good. I was told by my wife in particular that I drop a few too many F-bombs. So I'm going to roll back on that a little bit. But I mean, I don't think the show is geared towards the child audience. So I think I'm okay in that department. But yeah, it's been cool to get some listens and feedback and hear that people appreciate what we're doing and sharing our knowledge. So hopefully we can keep having some fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
You mean like fun bombs? It's too much fun. They can't handle it.
That's right.
Yeah, just fun everywhere. Fun off.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, we're marked explicit anyway. So yeah, my kid tried to watch it and it came up and you had to put it in parental control. So I was like, all right, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I know. I remember seeing that with rap tapes when I was like a little kid. Ooh, NWA. Listen. Yep. Lyrics.
Absolutely. But it makes you want to listen more, right?
Cool right now, this is the coolest I've ever felt. I am explicit.
Right, exactly, right? We'll have to put up that, we'll put up the parental advisory notification.
I'm getting a t-shirt with that on it.
There you go. Hey, I love it. It's the new logo. Forget it. That's it. We'll just replace our logo and go with that one. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of really good feedback as well. I just decided, hey, you know what, maybe we'll throw up a quick Instagram account as well, because there's some things that we want to post, and we can do it through Jeep, even through the TMR and the Combat account and what have you. But decided, hey, we'll just create one where it's a centralized location. And honestly, people keep following us like crazy, which is, it's pretty amazing. Like, it's pretty, So, hey, yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't followed us, check us out on Instagram. It's we are at Jeep Podcast, so it's pretty easy.
Sounds easy.
Yeah. So at Jeep Podcast, give us a follow, give us a like, a friend, whatever we want to call it. Hang out. Ryan, what's going on, man? Tell me about these bumpers.
Oh yeah, Tim got me some bumpers, and I'm pretty happy with them. We decided to paint them gold, so it's pretty fun. They're super gold. Yeah, they look good, you know what I mean? I wanted to make it popping because that was our SEMA Jeep anyways, and obviously we're going to use it for a bunch of photos and stuff, so I wanted something to pop, and all our arms and our tire delete and stuff's gold. It's not exactly the same gold. We had a challenge finding that in a paint form, but it still looks super cool, and yeah, I like the bumper. I'm going to talk about it. I'll do some video with it, and we're going to have it out when we go up and doing a bunch of cool photos, so that should be good for everyone. Everyone can get a good look at the bumper, because I know when you see them black and stuff, that's kind of the go-to, but you don't really appreciate, all the contours of the bumper or the fitment. This way it's nice. The Jeep's black. You can see the contours and the contrast over that. So I think if people are interested in those bumpers and seeing them always black, this would be some opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? This is cool. Or maybe it's a cool trend. Everybody's going to paint their bumpers gold. You never know, right? The gold rush.
Yeah, they look good though. That's the thing. They actually look awesome.
This is what I funnily do.
Yeah,
I make vehicles look cool. This is what I've done my whole life.
Yeah. But when you say it on paper, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna make a gold. You're like, okay, that's kind of
like,
all right, you know.
Drinking at 11 a.m.
Right. Probably, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what day of the week it is. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Isn't that what they say?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you though, I love the look of the steel also. So if we lived in a different environment, just going back to what you said about being able to see like the way that the bumpers look, I would run the steel all day long if it didn't, it would just rust in minutes here, right? So
you can clear it if you want. I mean, but anytime, like even with me, like once I ding this up a little bit, like it's only paint, right? Like I painted it with automotive paint. We have our paint shop do it. Super cool guy, he does all our paint work. But I just because I wanted that shock value of it. But I mean, if you run that kind of stuff, you could clear it, but just be aware. Yeah, it's tough. Even if you run a bumper anyways and you mark it up, still going to get a little moisture. I think maybe the desert you might get lucky, but over time you're still going to get some tarnish on it, to run it bare. But, like Tim said, like that steel, it paints pretty good. It looks pretty, the gray looks pretty cool. So
looks awesome.
That's another good one, but it's not fucking gold, fellas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we're going to take some pictures this week, and I think we're going to hit some trails, and we'll post those up on our Instagram account. How about that? Or, of course, our Facebook, our group, our exclusive private group. So that's you can get that at facebook.com/groups/Jeep podcast also. So look at that. We're cleaning up with the awesome social media names. All right, let's talk about armor then. Let's start with the different types of armor. So briefly, Ryan, you and I, we quickly chatted about the differences between the armor. Why don't you just explain to everyone, what armor is? There's a couple different types and what's sort of included in the category.
Okay, well, there's a lot, but I mean, you could be talking about Under Armour, not the clothing. And you don't put Under Armour trademark underneath your Jeep.
For the record, he is air quoting.
Yeah, air quotes. Can't do it. I don't care what color that shirt is. It's not going to help you. But just basically, most people refer to skid plating as armor for underneath. But when you say Under Armour, right, and then you got your body armor around the sides, right? So that's really the easiest thing to do. And then we got diff covers and stuff. So really easy. You're going to be in trails, maybe it's close proximity to things. You might rub something or nudge something or back into something. Everyone's done it. It's been out there once in a while. Take out a tail light or something. But so the armor's going to help you with that, right? So you just keep that body line nice. And makes it look tougher, adds a bunch of weight, unless you use aluminum, I guess. But aluminum, there's a whole bunch of crap. And then underneath, same difference. You know what I mean? If you don't spend that couple $100 and get an evac skid plate and you whack it off a rock or a log or something like that, you're pretty much stranded out there. It's a real big pain in the ass, and they're twice as much as the skid plate is to save that day. So that there's all we can talk from lots. We can talk to bare minimum skid plates to like, hey, Christmas balls to the walls, like, what do you want, right?
Sure.
And I like diff covers too. They're dinner plate thin on the differentials, right? And there's not much room between your ring gear and your diff cover when you look at it. They're right there, right? So you whack those on something, and it's game over too. You peel a lip and you lose all your oil. You're kind of stranded, right? And then you're making a mess out in the environment.
Sure.
Right. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives to having it, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, well then let's zoom in on the Under Armour, the air quotes Under Armour, and sort of what that entails. So skid plates and the diff covers, rock rails, etc. Tim, let's talk about the skid plates. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. What are they typically, just at bare bones? What are they designed to do?
They're designed to take a hit from a rock, a log, any trail debris. So say your factory oil pan or an evap canister, like Ryan's talking about. From factory, these components aren't very well protected. They're mounted under the vehicle because obviously that's where they got to be. But the factory doesn't put a lot of consideration into the fact you might go rock crawling with this thing and have a rock come up in there and damage a component. So your skid plate is going to mount generally to a cross member, a frame rail, a structural support, and keep rocks debris, trees, roots, anything from actually touching that vulnerable component. So it's just a layer of protection between that component and the trail obstacles you're going to encounter.
Okay, got it. And so when we buy the skid plates, is it typically like just a big sheet of metal that goes underneath your Jeep, or is it like different components, or?
Generally different components. So usually they're modular in systems. So like you can buy an oil pan skid plate, you can buy transmission, transfer case, gas tank. You can generally buy all those components on their own. There's lots of companies that'll sell it in a kit if you want to buy everything and like protect everything at once. But a lot of people do it in stages just to spread the budget out. So, I mean, you might want to talk to people in your local area and see what's common, like what kind of trails are you out on and what components you want to protect the most. But yeah, for the most part, they're fabricated sheet metal or aluminum that's bent and formed to add strength, as well as obviously make it meet up with other components so they can bolt on for the most part.
Okay, right on. And Ryan, is that, so if we were to break it out and just get the most important pieces, what would you recommend that somebody get right away? Like, what is that? It's just like you have to have that if you're going to go wheeling.
Yeah, for sure. So if I had a Rubicon, I would add the skid plate that protects that motor for your sway bar disconnect.
Got it.
So I would add that one in the Rubicon section, unless you buy like that steel bumper group and it came with the cool fancy one. It's not as nice and it's kind of bulky looking like the OE one. Like I have it on the JT, like the Gladiator. There's if it just depends, but it'll work. I definitely want to cover the oil pan, like Tim was saying. That holds your oil for your motor. Big hole, no more motor, right?
Yeah.
It's tough, right? Like the transmission's kind of up there. It's tucked up there pretty good. The oil pan looks like those barbecue trays, like just hanging out, right? So I would do the oil pan for sure. I would definitely do the evap skid plate. It's beside the drive shafts on most of those models and stuff. And sometimes stuff comes up there. You hit something and you fling a big log up and you just javelin that thing, right? So, and like I said, that'll immobilize the vehicle. And then if you're doing a lot of rocky kind of stuff, I would definitely do diff covers front and rear. Like if you're approaching obstacles with rocks, you know what I mean? You're going to come up, your diff's going to touch it, right? Or maybe you got to roll back and you peel the lip on that little tin cover. So that's, again, gear oil, lots of heat, just metal on metal. You need that oil in there. You peel those lips or you dent that pan into your ring gear, your toes. So differentials front and rear for sure. Evap skid plate, engine skid plate for the transmission, for the motor, and then I would do the sway bar mount or motor one for the Rubicons. And if you had the extra cash, which pretty much is almost everything, I would do the tranny. And my last one, just out of sheer randomness, would be the gas tank skid plate. It's the heaviest and most expensive, and there is a crappy one on from OE, but like. It really depends. If you landed on something, you're going to toast it. But I've landed on a lot on different Jeeps we have, and it's a little, concave, but I still get, reasonable fuel economy. I didn't take too much space out of the tank or anything, but that could have been just luck. But that's kind of my top picks.
Okay, cool. And Tim, you mentioned the cross member. So do they typically, because I know that the OE cross member is pretty much like tinfoil, right? Like I know this because when we went out, I like destroyed my cross member like in a flash. It took no time at all. So do they typically just bolt up to the OE, or is it a replacement?
No, it's replacement.
Were you reading an intro while you were driving?
I was, yes, that's right.
No, with the cross members, generally that's going to be an item you replace. So you're not going to skid plate that OE one. By the time you've damaged it, it's kind of folded. So there's good aftermarket options. You're literally going to unbolt the stock one, toss it aside, and put a new one in place. The new aftermarket one's going to be heavy enough that it can take a hit. It's not like you need a skid plate on that cross member. Your aftermarket one's going to be pretty stout and can take a hit. And lots of this stuff's dependent on the terrain. Yeah, if you want to crawl rocks and harder obstacles, this is stuff you're going to want to chase. If you cruise the beach, you overland, just run logging roads, like you don't encounter obstacles that are going to be under the vehicle, then this is probably some stuff you can skip over and stick to the basics like Ryan pointed out earlier. It just depends on what you want to do with the Jeep.
Okay, right on. Yeah, and that actually was going to be my last question in terms of, who really needs it? Like if it's your casual wheeler, do we want to fit it up with like a complete skid plate system, or do we piecemeal it out? Tim, so let's look at one of your Jeeps that you take it regularly. Do you have like the full skid plate system?
No. Like on my TJ, so the TJs were a little different than the JKs and the JLs. On the TJs, it was common to put a steering box skid plate on there, because that steering box was at the front of the vehicle and could easily be hit. I always do diff covers on everything because, like Ryan mentioned, the factory ones are literally a dinner plate. In terms of thickness, they're a joke. And your differential is the lowest hanging part on the vehicle. Like Ryan said, the transmission, yeah, it's tucked up. If you're aware it's there, you're probably going to do okay. The diffs, you're 100% if you're going to be rock crawling or hard trail riding over debris and obstacles, those are going to hit things, no question. They're the lowest part on the vehicle. So I do diff covers on anything that's going to go off-road and see any potential trail damage, and then just take it from there and just do it piecemeal and roll it out. I mean, if you don't have an oil pan skid plate, doesn't mean you can't go out wheeling. Just be aware of where the oil pan is under the vehicle, and maybe if you're encountering an obstacle, you want a spot or an extra set of eyes on your vehicle to make sure jagged rock's not going to like come up there through it. Lots of it's just picking lines on trails. But if you find you're encountering those types of trails more often, then yeah, beef it up, add some skid plates. But it's not stuff you got to do right off the hop to get out and enjoy yourself.
Okay, right on. And Ryan, same. Is that pretty much what you run, or on? So let's say you're JK, because I know that you've had that for quite a while. I know that it goes out and it's used, right? It's wheeled.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, Christina uses it quite a bit. We're doing one-on-one trails most of the time, and we'll take some harder lines on it just to show people something different, right? It's got a G2 front axle in it, so the G2 came with a beefy skid plate and like differential cover. And then the rear, I can't remember what's on the rear of that thing. It should have something, but I know one of our TJs has like a solid diff cover and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, like Tim was saying, diff covers are probably the first pick because they're low. But yeah, not to say that like you can't go and do a one-on-one trail or even like, a 3+ or 2+ trail. You know what I mean? You probably can be just fine, and just be aware of what you're doing, right? If you're kind of following someone, make sure you're following somebody with roughly the same size tires. Like if you follow me in 40s and you got 35s, like it's a different world. I'm going to clear over that little rock in the middle, which is going to crack you right in the center of your pumpkin. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just kind of watch that. Really rule of thumb, like stay on the trail, but point your tires at the bigger stuff. Like just if there's that rock, just drive over it with your tire. Tire soft is cool, right? Just rub it. You know what I mean? It makes it a little more interesting with the smaller stuff. But yeah, you can definitely come bone stock, but look to invest in some skid plates, piece by piece at the very least.
Okay, awesome. Well, it keeps coming up, the idea of the diff covers. So let's segue into the product of the week. Oddly enough, diff covers. Tim, tell us about the TMR, the diff armor that you all have.
Right on. So we offer fabricated differential covers for all common models of Jeeps, as well as bigger stuff if you get into 1 tons like your Dana 60s and 14 bolts and that. Our diff covers are fabricated from 3/8 and 1/4 inch plate steel. That's the way we prefer to do it, just because they're stupid tough. And if you need to modify them in any way, you can. So like I've had some guys want to add, we put a raised fill plug on it, but some guys want to put a bigger fill plug for inspection. So literally you could drill a hole through this, weld a larger fill plug in there, good to go. On all my Jeeps that I had hydraulic assist, I simply weld tabs onto the diff cover and attach the hydraulic assist cylinder. So yeah, these covers are stout. I always tell people, if you run our covers and you wreck the cover, like it's going to be the least of your worries, because there's some fucking collateral damage. Like your control arms buckled, they're out of the way, your frame gave up its mounts, like they're solid. You smack them off a rock all you want. Like literally I've got pictures of us like running into shit full bore racing and like blow the rock up and the cover hangs on. So yeah, they're 1/4 inch shell with 3/8 face. It's a nice thick mounting flange. It's not going to peel up like Ryan's saying if you got to back over a rock or you pull over a rock and your rear end gets dragged, that rear diff drags on a rock, you're not going to peel or lift the cover up. So yeah, basically just put these things on, forget about it. You're not going to have any ring and pinion problems. You're going to be able to you can smack them off a rock full bore if you want to, for sure. That's what they're designed to do. But yeah, you know that you can wheel with confidence and you're not going to smash that stock diff cover, push it in the ring, gear, or you're not going to pop a hole in it, drain all the oil out like Ryan said, and then it's metal on metal parts. Like you're going to be toast pretty quick. So they just afford you the protection you want to tackle tough trails.
Amazing. Okay, and so do they come like? Are we painting them or?
Yeah, awesome question. So we supply them raw steel like most of our stuff. We never know if someone wants to get crazy like Ryan in the Gold Rush there and do a custom color on it.
Right.
Gold. Some
Gold,
guys
Jerry.
love doing them in the steel it, like all the stuff. Some guys want to line exit cover or clear coat it like you said because they like that welded look. So we supply them in raw form. Do as you will. Most guys seal them up with RTV. If you're using a gasket maker, we like the right stuff. It works incredibly well. Or you can use a lube blocker as well. That's another awesome product because it's a reusable gasket. I've run those on a couple of my machines now, and I'm a big fan of them. So yeah, that or RTV to seal it up. And yeah, you are going to have to paint it. Awesome question. You're going to have to paint or finish it yourself, so obviously it's not rusting and exposed to the elements.
Okay, amazing. And so just talking about in general then, diff covers, Ryan, are they always made of steel, do you think? I mean, in your experience?
Good. No, I think sometimes. No, in all seriousness, you can get aluminum diff covers, definitely. G2 makes them. They're pretty thick. Aluminum's soft, but if it's thick enough, it'll do the job. You're just going to notice the battle scars a whole hell of a lot more than you would on steel. So it's not so bad. You just be prepared, you know what I mean? Like, don't think you're going to tear the box and stay shiny and you go out and use it. You're not going to, like, you'll see, like, gouges and dents in aluminum and stuff, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would just check for thicknesses. I'm sure there's some bad ones out there. I can't think of any on the top of my head, but our G2 diff cover on the front of the Jeep is aluminum, and it's just fine. You know what I mean? But we don't go out there crushing that thing either, right? Like, you know, we use it, but it's not to the point of like massive abuse. Like, I like to care for all my equipment, but I like to have fun too. I don't think I'd put an aluminum diff cover on like a race machine. If I had one, Tim probably agree that way, go steel, you know what I mean? Like, some people are all excited for weight savings, but realistically, you're not going to save enough. Just eat vegetables for that 2 weeks before your race day, and you'll be even. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, and that's a good point. Actually, I was thinking that, so we have the aluminum bumper on the front of the JL, which is super light. But I'm not going to tell you I'm not a little bit concerned about how durable and tough it is, and obviously we need to test it, but I think when we're talking about critical components, the idea of using steel makes sense, right? Like if I'm out wheeling, you can take a chance on aluminum, and that's fine, but I think steel, personally, again, my opinion, we know that the TMR diff covers are strong as shit. You know what I mean? They're built well and they're tested in real world racing environments. So I think when it comes down to it, you want to go with a product that is going to hold up and you can trust it and you can go out wheeling without, worrying about whether or not you're gonna, split something open. I think personally, again, the steel seems to be the way to go. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Well, there's no selling aluminum ones then.
What's that?
There's no selling you aluminum ones. Your mind's made up.
That's it. Well, I love aluminum, actually. I think aluminum's great in the right application. It's just, I think of aluminum, I think of tin cans. You know what I mean? Like, I think of weight savings. I think, it's strong and what have you. But if I'm out there pounding something off a rock, I think I'd prefer steel. That maybe is just old school, but hey, that's the way it is.
You're
right?
a man of steel.
And that's right. Yes, exactly. Right?
Another teacher.
Okay, cool. So is diff covers, would that be on... I mean, that's a relatively easy thing to install, I would assume. And should somebody like the casual wheeler, would that be on your top of the list in terms of something that they should be replacing? Or sorry, at least, beefing up if they're going to be going out? Because, I mean, it does hang down. My guess is that it gets damaged more than anything else, right?
Yeah, I would do it, and you could do it at home. Just be sure you get call the dealership or a four-wheel drive shop, you know what I mean? Say, hey, what diff weight fluid do I need for my diff and the amount, and just as long as you fill it properly, don't overfill it, you know what I mean, those kind of things, and make sure you clean both sides surfaces so you can get a good adhesion with the gasket or silicone. Like I said, I use silicone always. I never use the paper gaskets or anything like that, or whatever composite they are, but I would use reusable ones mostly for oil pans and stuff like that, but they're still pretty cool. So yeah, as long as you do those steps right, and while you're in there, maybe take a visual inspection. make sure you clean it out real good. There'll be gunk, and like metal on metal is going to have some wear. So, the drain plug should have a magnet on it, the shavings. I get in there with some brake clean or some stuff and just spray it all around while you're there and clean it up. And then dry it up, fresh fluid, let it sit. I let the silicone sit for a little while, and then, just snug it up with the silicone. Like, I let it sit for like a couple minutes. Then I put the actual cover on. And then I go around like soft torque the cover. Right, and then I'll come back in like 10 minutes, and I'll give it more like its final torque, and then I'll let it sit dry for a little while. As long as I'm not in a rush. Like if I got time and it's my own shit, I'll let it sit for a couple hours. You don't really have to. It should hold the fluid, but it's just something stuck in my brain, and then I'll fill it to its capacity and good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I know a question that's going to come up guaranteed. Tim, do you know the answer? Will it void a warranty?
No, there's no chance, because all you've done is you've basically replaced the portion of the housing that just holds the fluid. So no, if you put the diff cover on and you rock it dry and you forget that step to put the fluid in, no, I think you're fucked. But no one's gonna... as long as you follow the steps like Ryan mentioned. You could go to YouTube Mechanic Academy for this one. It's pretty straightforward. There'll be endless videos on how to change gear oil.
Totally.
So no, it's not going to void your warranty.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was going to say we'll do a video as well, maybe at some point, and post it up there. So if there isn't already one, so cool.
You know what? I've got a dealership story. It's not warranty related, but I saw online a customer had a Jeep that was heavily Under Armoured, skid plates everywhere. So like every skid plate you could throw on it. He took it to a dealership to do an oil change. Ryan's probably seen it. Anyways. With skid plates, they're covering a lot of stuff that isn't covered by the factory. So if you just take it to like your Quick Lube, a dealership, someone that's not familiar with that, you could end up with a lot of oil sitting on the skid plate after, because literally they're going to crack the fitting. It's going to piss oil all over the skid plate. So it might be something to keep in mind. You might want to do more of your own fluid changes. Otherwise, they might be charging the labor to remove that to have it done at the level you want, or you might want to stick with a four-wheel drive specialty shop for this sort of thing, because they're going to know kind of the ins and outs to not send you home with 6 liters of oil sitting on that pan. I get it. If you just took it to a Quick Lube, they're just smashing through it. They're just doing his job. He's not going to remove it plate for you. So if you're picky, you like attention to detail and stuff, this might be a job you want to take on, or stick with a four-wheel drive specialty shop and tell them what attention to detail you expect.
Okay, right on. No, that's a good point. Actually, I have seen that same sort of horror story out there, and the oil is everywhere. Like, everywhere. By the time you get home, it's like, it's an oil bath. Like, it's crazy. So, unless you want to spend a couple hours of your life cleaning that shit up. Good point. Very good point. All right, so let's move on to our last sort of component in this section with the Under Armour, if you will, and that's the rock sliders. So one, let's talk about what they are, and two, maybe we'll talk about, just let everyone know the difference between, like, let's say a rock slider versus, Nerf steps or what have you, because I see that a lot of people, they're not sure. They'll replace or purchase Nerf steps thinking that is going to help protect them when they're out on the trail. Tim, you want to talk about the differences between those guys?
Yeah, for sure. This is another component that you probably want built from steel, or if it's aluminum, make sure it's like properly engineered, because if you're buying a rock slider, your intention is you're protecting the rocker guard, which is the portion under your doors, from rocks, going over a tree, anything that's going to come into contact with that. Especially on the JKs and JLs, they've got like a really big exposed pinch seam. Earlier Wranglers weren't as bad, so I wouldn't say they were quite as susceptible to damage. There's a lot of options for these. So some are very low profile, tight to the body. They're going to be sturdy. Truthfully, that's probably the strongest style you can get. There's a lot that'll have like tubes kick off to try and make it easier for people to hop into the Jeep to use as a step. Make sure you do your research and check into reviews, because there's a lot that'll look like they're stout, but they're not the strongest thing. So if it contacts a rock or a stump, it's getting pushed up into the body, and that part you bought you thought protect your Jeep is actually now harming your Jeep because it's just getting rammed up in there. So do some research. Yeah. So do some research and see what people say, but you want to trust. Like, if you're buying a piece for protection, make sure it's stout, can take a hit, isn't going to bend or flex out of the way, and is going to protect your Jeep, because there's a lot of shit and hokey looking shit out there that wants to pretend it's a rocker guard is functional, but they're more or less just a step or a Nerf bar. They're not real protection from rocks and trail debris.
Right on. Okay, cool. And Ryan, you installed. I saw, because I know the sort of the difference is, whether you're installing it into the pinch seam versus into the body itself. And I actually saw a video. Christina installed some pretty cool looking rock sliders that went right up into the body mounts. Do you know what I'm referring to? You remember that?
Yeah. Those are Ace Engineering ones. So they mount off the body mounts, which is like Tim was saying, like the body mount is just this big bolt and some bushings, right? So they will flex if you were to drop the weight of the vehicle on it. So they have a weld-on option too. It's not really home friendly, but the weld-on option is the way to go if you're looking for something else that'll protect the rocker, right? And there is also body cladding. There's a lot of like fancy body cladding that is not worth its weight, period, no matter what it's made out of. Or there's sticker stuff, so you can do two things, right? But the cladding doesn't go down that big pinch seam either, right? So we put the bolt-on ones on just to showcase them and use them. Like the tube itself's fine. You can still damage it, but it'll flex on the body bushings, and it's hit my pinch seams. So my pinch seams have like little mustaches where those mounts go, right? Which I already knew. I was okay with the idea, but I mean, some people would be buying with different expectations. So if you like the Ace ones just because we're talking about them, and you wanted them for rock protection for your rocker guard, you want to buy the weld-on ones, and you want to get them welded on by someone who can weld, right? So my black two-door JK, Tim probably remembers it from a bunch of years ago, but that one has the Ace style. So they'll pose as a step and be rock friendly, right? And they're weld-on. Like, I dropped from like 2 feet on a rock, and like I thought I lost all my teeth, like because of the shatter through my eyeballs rattled. You know what I mean? But it didn't move a millimeter, right? Whereas the other ones, you're gonna get some movement. So anything mounted to body bushings, or anything even worse, like that at least gives you something. If you're mounting those to like the body metal pinch seams, and you think you're gonna, I mean, if I'm like 240 pounds, if I stepped on that one, I'd be like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I have to like grab onto the steering wheel just so I don't put all my weight in that one spot, right? So yeah, you got to watch it. So something mounted to the frame is for rocks, really. And then there's another bad one that people buy all the time, which is brutal even for trail riding. It's like sorry Smitty build, but this one's Smitty build one, and like it has a tube comes out and a nice foot plate so you can step on, which is fantastic. But we were all lifting our vehicles to gain ground clearance, and they put this amazing, like, low-hanging bar underneath it to, like, just grab on everything. And I'm like, who designed this sack of shit, right? Oh, my God, right? So, so just watch, kind of know what you want, like Tim was saying, and then just investigate it. But, like, just rule of thumb, if you're going to be bashing this thing, you want something welded to the frame or at least a bracket off it that gives you that security so there's no way it's moving. And then, that's kind of the three of them. Stay away from something that's just bolted to the pinch seam. Like, there's not much there, right? You can probably chew on a piece of that body metal, right? So you can't expect that to help you out, right?
It's funny you mentioned that because we had a company, I'm not going to say who it was, but basically have us try the Nerf ones, and I wanted them anyway. So I thought, you know what? I lifted the Jeep, wanted to get some of those Nerf steps, thought no big deal. It's already lifted. It's on 35s. It's pretty high up, whatever. I swear to God, going wheeling, that's all you think about. Like, I'm not worried about the diffs or anything. All I'm thinking about is I'm going to get hung up on everything with these fucking steps that come down. Like, it's true. Like, they look great, or they really function well. My wife likes them, because she can get into the Jeep with the skirt on or whatever. But they suck for wheeling. And the only thing I kept thinking is like, they're just gonna get hung up, and they're just gonna get pulled right off that pinch seam. And that's all I thought about the whole time I'd be out there, right? So we got rid of those things. They were total shit. And actually, Rome sent us these killer sliders that we're going to do an install video on, so we're going to try those out. But they have the same thing. They're great. They have steps, so they're functional, but it's a flat surface, so they'll slide on the rails. So we'll install those and see how they work. But as another option, Tim, are yours in production?
No, yeah. So Todd, solo Jeeper that works for us, he's rocking the first set we made for JK. So we just got to get back to the drawing board, make a couple tweaks after he fit them up on his Jeep, and get those things going probably, end of this year, early next year, those will be available. But yeah, they mount to the body. So yeah, you got to draw the body, but we riv nut the shit out of them to the body, and then they tie back to the body mount as well. They've got a step that comes off the side, like you were saying. We don't make the step drop down. We want it to come off the side. That step also functions to like keep you off rocks and trees. Like I know in my TJ, we made a set and I had like a tube off of it. Tube it worked as a step. It was better for keeping stuff off. Like you're on a tight trail, you touch a tree. Well, now that can pivot off the tree as opposed to the tree coming into your door. That's something to think about too. You really just got to decide like how you wheel, what type of obstacles you're going to encounter, and what functionality you want out of these things. Because there's a million options. And like Ryan says, there's like thin little fascias you can bolt onto the side. They're hokey as shit. They're doing nothing. Like, let's just call that thing a piece of cladding. Like, it's not armor. That's not protecting anything.
Yeah.
If you like the look
like
of it,
wheel lip trim, like from the old Cadillacs and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Tiny wheel lip trim. Bunch of pose downs. They oil themselves up, take pictures of themselves in the mirror.
Perfect. Yeah, I will say though, that was a good thing about the Nerf bars is they kept door dings away. Like I'd park and nobody could get, like, you couldn't open your door and hit my Jeep because they had these friggin' steps hanging down, out 5 feet from the side of the Jeep. So
Jeez.
yeah, they were pretty awesome. But they're gone now.
To be expected anyways. Like if you're gonna go off road, even if you're doing a 101, just don't be the expectation that you're not going to potentially ding something or scratch something or whack something. Yeah. Just happens so fast. And but if you don't want any of that and you spent like your $65,000 and you wax this thing every Sunday, go with a friend. You know what I mean? Leave that guy in the driveway, cruise the beach. Like nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But I hate when people have these expectations. I don't hate it. I just feel bad for them when, the picture wasn't painted properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. Really, at the end of the day, that's it. If you take the proper precautions and, your JL, for example, looks mint. I mean, I know you've taken it out. Same with the JK. I mean, the TMR JK looks awesome. I've even seen you scrap. I remember one time you were going through some trees there, and it was a little tight, and I think you caught the hard top there. But it still looks mint. But it's just expectations, right? Like it's like going in there. If you're prepared, having the proper armor and what have you, it's going to protect the main components. And yeah, you're probably going to get a scratch or two or whatever. But I think it's important also to then take care of the maintenance afterwards, right? So like you all mentioned, if you ding your bumper and you've pulled all the paint off, you probably need to do something with it, because if you don't, it's exposed to the elements, and now it's over time it's going to rust. So again, expectations, having the proper knowledge, people can go out and have fun and be safe, right?
And everyone should have limb risers.
Limb risers, explain.
No, I can't handle it. I had a hard time saying that. I'm like, don't laugh when you say limb risers in my brain. Yeah. Jeez. Everyone that doesn't know, look them up and then send me a video of you giggling when you see them.
There you go.
I don't care who has them. They're terrible things. Just put up with the little bit of brush that hits your window and your hood, or just.
I know what you're talking about now. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but they look cool. What do you mean? They look awesome at the mall.
Well, you can dry your Speedo on it after you've got all the oil out of it. Hose them with your lip trim.
That's
right. Park it in the sun, full sun.
There you go. Awesome. All right, good. Okay, so I think just to sum it up, what we're saying is, even if you're wheeling from time to time, if you want to take the extra steps to have that protection, get some Under Armour, quotes, air quotes, Under Armour. So Diff covers is probably a good thing to get. Affordable, you can do it yourself. They look cool as hell. Paint them up. They're pretty awesome. So even if you are flexing at the mall, you can get some Diff covers, paint them red. They look awesome, right? But then on top of that, it's probably worth investing in some armor for your for oil pan, and maybe even getting a full protection kit. One thing I wasn't sure about, and I don't think we touched on, was if you're getting that Under Armour, say for your oil pan or what have you, can you just pop it in yourself, or do you need to take it to a shop? Ryan, what do you, in your experience?
It depends on you. I mean, it really depends on your commitment to it. Like if you I like to do it on a hoist, obviously, because I'm spoiled. We have hoists here. But it's nice to work with that space so you can be fully standing underneath. If you're doing all steel skid plates, they're pretty heavy. And you can do it with wood and floor jacks and lining them up. It's just, it's going to be physically daunting for most people. And it is just nuts and bolts. The odd time you got to like cut something or move something out of the way. You might have to retrofit something if you didn't buy the whole package and, you know, the transmission skid plate works with the oil pan skid plate, but it requires them to sandwich together or something. You only bought half. Like you might have to make a bracket. Like there's those types of things. And hopefully the people you chatted about purchasing it would make that aware for you, like so send you out. But I mean, if you want it done, no fuss, no muss. You do you, I do me. Bring it to my store. Bring it to a 4-wheel drive shop. Get them to do it. You don't have to worry about it unless you want to torture yourself in your driveway on your back, picking the skid plate up. You know, I don't know.
All right, cool.
I wouldn't do it at home in the driveway, but I'm this 16 years being spoiled with equipment, right? So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I like just getting it all done right. Like I got to do some renovations on it. We're just gonna do a new store and stuff, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get people to do a lot of the stuff that I'm just not good at, or you know, I got other things I should manage my time with, right? So it's kind of up to you. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Okay. All right, fair enough. Definitely the rock rails, though. Those things you can do at home. Anyone can figure those out.
Ones for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 6 bolts, 3 aside. You can zap them up. Tim, you're doing nut certs in yours?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you'll have to do a bunch of rib nuts. If you're doing it, buy the tool. So either
totally tool time. Yeah,
buy the tool or go see a shop like Ryan that can bang that out for you. There's some hokey homemade tools you can experiment with. They're not fun. It's just going to leave you frustrated. So get the right shit.
Yeah, nice. Especially considering you're going into your Jeep, right? So again, just protecting your investment. You know, spend the extra couple bucks, get the right tool, and do it right. Right? I think would be fair. Yeah. So if anyone's watching this or listening to it, and it's say 2021, check out the TMR website or the Jeep Beef website. We'll pop them up there, and if they're in production, you'll be able to take a look at the TMR rock sliders, because they look sick. As Tim mentioned, they are on the Solo Jeep, Todd's Jeep, and they look amazing. They look so good. So check those out if you're listening to this after 2021. When they go into production, we'll just add them to the show notes, I'm sure. So awesome. Well, did we miss anything in regards to those components? I think we're pretty good.
I'm sure there's something else.
I'm sure. But if you do have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Send it to us on Instagram. Shoot them in our private Facebook group. We're pretty good at getting those answered. The guys are super helpful in that regard, as well as the many people that have joined the group. I gotta say, like, some of the people that are in the group are awesome. They're posting stuff up, answering some questions. It's pretty great. So check that out. So without further ado, I guess, thanks for joining us. I learned a lot, as always. If you did, hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell so you can be notified of any new shows. If you're listening to us, consider subscribing. Perhaps leave a comment. A couple people have left some great reviews, which are super encouraging, but it gives us that feedback so we can help improve. And from everyone here, thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching. I guess we're out. Have yourselves a great week.